Now, I want to talk about my favorite TV show of 2024. I literally didn't start any of it until this year, but the first season was on Netflix for Halloween, and I binged it, and I binged the second season somehow. And now I want to show the trailer for Interview with the Vampire.
I offer, for your journalistic pleasures, my life story.
So, how long have you been dead?
The year was 1910. My business was desire.
Let me introduce you to Mr. Lestat de Liancourt.
I love who you are, sir. We're destined to be very good friends.
I'm assuming you only met at night.
It's New Orleans. Days are for sleeping off the previous evening's damage. That's your thing, eh? You like to watch?
I've been watching you for some time now. I can swap this life for sure. Swap it out for a dark gift.
Let the tale seduce you. Just as I was seduced. He was my murderer, my mentor, my lover, and my maker. A very strange enchanted boy. It was as if I could finally receive the secrets of existence.
Your eyes, like a church window.
I was not yet ready to hunt, but desperate to feed.
It's best to let the food come to you.
You're not welcome in this home. This is how it has to be.
I don't want to kill people.
You're a vampire.
I could not save myself. But I could save her.
She'll be what? A daughter?
We're a family.
She is poisoning you against me.
You two have each other. Who am I supposed to know?
This is not a life! You took my life!
We'll be together 10,000 nights. 100,000.
Ready to begin the adventure of our lives. My companions in immortality.
Okay. I want to talk about Interview with the Vampire because this is probably the best show that nobody's watching. There's always a year when people are like, man, this show's the best show that nobody's watching. And for me, it was Doom Patrol, it was The Leftovers, it's Blind Spotting. But for right now, as a show that has not ended and is still on and is gaining a little bit of a following, I think when the first season was put on Netflix, it really did get a lot of viewers onto it. But Interview with the Vampire is one of the better written shows I've seen in recent times that nobody's talking about. And it does so many interesting things. If you've seen the movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, the story is more or less very similar, though they do change the timelines a little bit to, I don't know, not have to use like weird, crazy, super old clothes. I don't know. But the show does a really great job of expanding on everything you got from the movie. The movie, I don't know if I necessarily remember or even thought about the idea of Lestat and Louis as being gay. I don't know if I thought about that when I first saw the movie when I was a kid. But when I've definitely heard interpretations of that, so it's not like crazy to me to assume. And I think the show does a really interesting job of playing with that. And also they made Louis Black in the show. It's very interesting. I just love all that. Claudia, I really like what they do with her. The only sucky thing about Claudia is from season 1, season 2, they had to recast her. I don't know why, they just did. Both actresses are great as Claudia, but for some reason, I feel like in the second season, they might have pulled back on her story a little bit, maybe because they weren't so confident whether or not the actress could bring the same amount of chemistry and gravitas to Claudia as the first actress did in the first season. I think they both did equally great jobs, just the second Claudia didn't get as much meat to chew on because I think they were scared about it. What else? And so yeah, I think what Interview with the Vampire does the best is I think it shows one of the better TV show relationships you'll ever see between two characters. You get to see them in very different aspects of their relationship, and because they're vampires living through hundreds of years, you get to see more exaggerated forms of how those changes take place, which is very interesting. They also have intriguing things with the present plot line. Like in the movie, the whole thing is literally just an interview with the vampire. Christian Slater is just talking to Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt's just telling him the whole story. And then at the end, Christian Slater runs into Tom Cruise, like the very, very, very end, and then cut the credits. This implies that Louis, the vampire, takes the interviewer, and they tried to have this interview before in the 80s, but for some reason it didn't work out, and so now they're trying again in the 2020s. And I think that's an interesting aspect. So now you get, like, you're juggling three different storylines. The story that Louis is telling the interviewer, there's that story. Then there's a story of, well, wait, what happened when they first tried to do this interview back in the 80s? And so you get hints of that throughout the whole show. And then there are other factors involved in the story, like how the interview might ask a certain question, or how some other characters might factor into these stories, that really spice up the whole concept. So, like, what I like is not only are you sort of seeing it from Louis' perspective and he's sort of telling the story, but based on what new information you get later on, recontextualizes what you got before. So, like, there's a lot of stuff, especially in the second half of season 2, that recontextualizes a whole lot of stuff from season 1, and then really sort of puts you in a more precarious position when it comes to figuring out which characters are in the right and which characters are in the wrong, in such an enriching way. It's like, you really find it, like, it's really just surprising. You didn't think it had so much substance in there. And not only is there so much substance in there, by the end of it, you're kind of like, man, I wish it would keep going. And thankfully, there's going to be a third season, but the Interview with the Vampire books, like, well, there's only one book called Interview with the Vampire. After that, it sort of goes off. And so what I'm really interested now in seeing is, we basically got the entire movie in these first 2 seasons. Now we're going to get to see the sequel. And that stuff I'm really interested in. I think it's supposed to delve more into what the heck Lestat is doing through this entire time before... I'm not going to spoil anything else. Okay, so that's it. That's the Top TV of 2024. Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye! So that was just that list of a couple things. I hope you were represented. If you weren't, put some ideas in the comments.
Don't you want me to suck that blood, baby? I want to suck it. I want to suck the blood. I want to suck the blood.